In a small, peaceful town named Santoval, nestled between lush green mountains and vast fields, there lived a farmer named Raimundo. He is the epitome of the simplicity and diligence of the rural American people. Each day of Raimundo begins at dawn and only ends when the stars twinkle in the sky. His calloused hands from hard labor and his sun-tanned face are testament to the long days of toil on his homeland. However, hidden beneath that simple exterior is a heart full of aspirations. Raimundo does not just work to make a living. He carries within him a grand dream: to own a modern tractor to lighten the burden of labor and create a brighter future for his family. The journey to turn that seemingly distant dream into reality is a long story of perseverance, sacrifice, and extraordinary determination. It is not just the journey of an ordinary farmer, but also a powerful story of aspiration and compassion. Raimundo had to face numerous challenges, especially the disdain from those who judged him by his appearance. However, it was precisely in those moments of being underestimated that he showed them the true value of a person lies not in appearance, but in will and heart. Can a farmer with calloused hands overcome all obstacles to reach his dream? And what profound lesson made those who once looked down on him change their perspective? Raimundo's journey will open up surprising and inspiring revelations for us, prompting each person to reflect on the true value of effort and perseverance. In the peaceful little village of Santoval, Raimundo lived with his gentle wife Maria and their two young children, 12-year-old Pedro and 8-year-old Rosa. Their house is simple and modest, built from humble materials like rough wood and an old tin roof. Although it is not luxurious, that house is always warm due to the love and support of the family members. Raimundo and his family's lives completely depend on the small plot of land where he cultivates using primitive tools like a chipped hoe and an ox-drawn plow. Day after day, Raimundo toils in the fields from dawn until dusk. The beads of sweat soaking through his shirt and the deep calluses etched on his hands are testament to his hard work. Each harvest season, Raimundo has to face countless difficulties: erratic weather, rampant pests, and unstable yields. In the years of poor harvests, his family had to tighten their budget, and meals consisting of homegrown vegetables became familiar. Maria occasionally mended the old clothes for her children, while luxuries like new clothes or toys seemed like distant dreams. Nevertheless, in his heart, Raimundo has never given up on a simple yet deeply cherished dream: to own a tractor. He understood that with a modern tractor, farming would be easier, more productive, and his family could escape the precariousness. Above all, Raimundo yearns to provide his wife and children with a more fulfilling life, so that his children can receive a proper education, and Maria no longer has to worry about daily meals. That dream not only blossomed from the desire to improve life, but also from the responsibility of a husband and father towards the family. Raimundo knows that the path to the tractor will not be easy, as its price far exceeds his financial capacity. However, he believes that with perseverance and determination, all efforts will eventually be rewarded. Maria, the wife who always stands by Raimundo, understands that desire. Even though sometimes in her heart, she also wished to renovate the house or buy new clothes for the children, Maria still quietly supported Raimundo. She understood that the tractor was not just a tool for work, but also a symbol of hope and a bright future for the whole family. And from there, Raimundo's journey to conquer his dream began. A journey that is not just about long days of hard labor, but also about years of sacrifice, patience, and the struggle against oneself to not give up. The dream of owning a tractor is not merely the desire to have a modern labor tool. For Raimundo, it represents a great hope for a brighter future for his family. He understands that with the tractor, farming will become much easier. No more long days drenched in rain and sun. No more hours of hard labor plowing with human strength and a pair of emaciated cows. The tractor will help him expand the cultivated area, increase seasonal productivity, and thereby improve the family's life, which has been full of hardships. Realizing the value of that dream, Raimundo decided to start a saving journey. That was not an easy decision. Every penny earned is incredibly valuable, but he is willing to give up even the most essential needs to realize his aspirations. Simpler meals, old clothes patched up instead of bought new, and the lively village festivals have become distant joys. Even the small gifts for the children on their birthdays or during festivals have become simpler. Instead of sweet candies or new toys, Raimundo personally made simple toys or told his children stories about effort and perseverance. When little Rosa innocently asked her father why he didn't buy candy like other children, Raimundo gently explained, "Candy is only sweet for a moment, my daughter." But father is saving for something that will bring long-lasting happiness to the whole family. That silent sacrifice comes not only from Raimundo, but also from his small family. Maria, the diligent wife, although occasionally wishing to repair their dilapidated house or buy their child a few new clothes, still patiently stands by her husband. She quietly encouraged him whenever difficulties piled up, because she understood that Raimundo's dream was also the dream of the whole family. For many long years, Raimundo carefully kept each meager coin in an old tin box hidden in the corner of the kitchen cupboard. Every time he opened that box, he not only counted the money, but also measured his hope and determination. Even though life sometimes gets tough and fatigue occasionally makes him falter, the pure eyes of his children and Maria's trusting smile always give him the motivation to keep going. Those years were not easy at all. When other families in the village eagerly participated in harvest festivals, bought new items, or enjoyed simple pleasures, Raimundo and his family chose a more frugal way of life. They accept small sacrifices today in exchange for a more abundant future tomorrow. The perseverance and unwavering sacrifices of Raimundo gradually became an inspiring story for those around him. At first, many people doubted his ability to afford an expensive tractor. But over the years, as they saw Raimundo persistently working without complaint, they began to admire his extraordinary determination. For Raimundo, each passing day is a step closer to that dream. He understands that this path is not easy, but as long as he doesn't give up, he will surely reach his destination. And then, after so many years of saving and sacrificing, the dream of that seemingly distant tractor finally came within reach. Throughout the long, endless years, Raimundo persevered with his goal. Every coin earned from the hard work in the fields, he carefully folded and stored in an old tin box hidden in the corner of the kitchen. That box not only contained small coins, but also held all of Raimundo's trust and hope for a better future for his family. Maria, his diligent wife, although also yearning to renovate the old house or buy additional necessary items for the family, has never complained. Maria understood that Raimundo's dream was not just the tractor, but the beginning of a fuller and more prosperous life for their children. She is willing to share the burdens with her husband, accepting small sacrifices to nurture a grand dream. The Raimundo family embraces a simpler lifestyle than anyone else in the village. While other children eagerly awaited new clothes for the festivals, Pedro and Rosa happily wore the old clothes that their mother had carefully mended. The family's meals often consisted of simple dishes, sometimes lacking but always warm with love. The birthday or festival gifts were just small toys that Raimundo made with his own hands. Despite the hardships of life, not a single complaint escaped from Raimundo. He worked quietly, saved quietly, because he understood that each sacrifice today was a brick in building a solid future tomorrow. At first, the surrounding neighbors could not help but be skeptical of Raimundo's determination. They thought, how could a poor farmer, who only cultivated a small piece of land, save enough money to buy an expensive tractor? The gossip, the doubtful looks sometimes crept in here and there, but Raimundo didn't pay any attention. He still quietly worked, persevering day by day to get closer to his dream. Gradually, Raimundo's perseverance made those doubts disappear. Instead, there was admiration and respect. The neighbors began to realize that Raimundo was not just an ordinary farmer, but a person with extraordinary will and determination. His determination has become an inspiration for many people in the village. Some neighbors even proactively came to help Raimundo during the busy harvest seasons, seeing him as a shining example of perseverance. Some people have started to learn the way of frugal living, knowing how to set clear goals for themselves. Pedro and Rosa are also proud of their resilient father. They understand that all their parents' sacrifices are for a better future. Not just a story about a tractor, Raimundo's journey gradually became a tale of perseverance and unwavering faith. That seemingly distant dream was no longer just his own, but had become a symbol of hope and change for those around him. And then, as each day passed, each coin was carefully saved, and the tin box became fuller and fuller. Each drop of sweat shed was not in vain. That is a sign that Raimundo's dream is gradually coming closer. That journey is not over yet, but each step he takes has ignited a strong belief that as long as he doesn't give up, all his efforts will eventually be rewarded. After many years of hard work and saving, the moment Raimundo had been eagerly anticipating finally arrived. That morning, the gentle sunlight filtered through the small window, illuminating the thick envelope that he had carefully kept. That was the money Raimundo had saved every single penny over many years, the result of countless drops of sweat and silent sacrifices. He woke up earlier than usual. Neatly dressed in the best clothes he had, though old and worn, they were washed clean and ironed perfectly. Raimundo put on his familiar straw hat, and the cracked shoes from years of working in the fields were also cleaned by him. He is not a man with a sophisticated appearance, but in his eyes and posture, there is confidence and overflowing hope. The money envelope was carefully tucked into his inner pocket, close to his left chest, as if embracing the dreams of the entire family. He stepped out into the yard, gently patting the old truck that had accompanied him through countless seasons. The truck, though rickety and with peeling paint, seemed to carry an important mission today. Raimundo started the engine. The wheels rolled slowly on the red dirt road leading out of the village, heading towards the big city. For the first time in many years, Raimundo set foot in the bustling city. The wide roads were crowded with people and vehicles rushing past each other. The blaring car horns, the towering buildings stretching up to the sky, and the bright neon signs made him a bit bewildered. For a man hailing from a peaceful countryside like him, the fast-paced and noisy rhythm of the city is truly a completely foreign world. Occasionally, Raimundo caught the gaze of passers-by, their eyes gliding over the dusty old truck and the simple man behind the wheel. However, he did not let that difference deter him. Raimundo gripped the steering wheel tightly, reminding himself that today was not the time to worry about the little things. This is my day, a day to turn dreams into reality, he told himself. After a long and bumpy journey, Raimundo finally arrived. The largest tractor dealership in the region. The modern building with its shiny glass facade, in front of it a row of brand new tractors, sparkling under the sunlight. Each vehicle was large and powerful, machines he had only dared to dream about. Raimundo turned off the engine, took a deep breath. He stepped down, lightly brushing off the dust on his clothes. Each step into the store is a step closer to the dream of his life. He didn't expect that behind those luxurious glass doors, there would not only be modern machines, but also the greatest challenge of patience and dignity that he was about to face. Stepping into the luxurious tractor dealership, Raimundo couldn't help but feel the stark contrast between his simple appearance and the modern, glamorous space here. The shiny tractors were displayed under the bright lights, each one like a symbol of power and wealth. Customers coming and going are all dressed elegantly, chatting with the sales staff in their neat suits. Raimundo approached the reception desk with a gentle smile, his eyes shining with hope. However, from the very first moment, he sensed the coldness in Claudio's gaze. A young, polished sales associate in a neat suit. Claudio glanced at Raimundo from head to toe, his gaze sweeping over the worn-out shirt, the faded shoes, and the simple straw hat. The smile on his lips blossomed, but it was not a warm smile. It was a smile tinged with sarcasm. "Hello, what do you need here?" Claudio asked, his tone elongated and cold. Raimundo calmly replied, "I want to see the tractor models. I have saved for many years and came here today to buy one." Claudio slightly smirked, his eyes clearly showing disdain. He glanced quickly at his colleague, then shrugged lightly and replied in a half-joking, half-serious tone, "Oh, really? Then let me show you some models that fit your budget." Around, a few customers began to pay attention to the conversation. A few curious glances, a few soft laughs echoed, as if agreeing with Claudio's subtle mockery. The atmosphere became awkward, as if an invisible wall separated Raimundo from the luxurious world here. However, Raimundo did not waver. He calmly looked straight at Claudio, his gaze steady. "I want to see the most modern, the most powerful tractor you have." Claudio was taken aback for a moment, then let out a sneer, as if he had just heard a joke. He glanced at the colleagues around him, as if to showcase the absurdity of Raimundo's request. "That one? Do you know how expensive it is? More than $300,000. Perhaps you should reconsider," Claudio said, his voice full of sarcasm. Although he clearly felt the contempt surrounding him, Raimundo remained calm. He did not let those venomous words derail his goal. His eyes reflected determination, and his calloused hands gently placed the envelope of money on the counter. "Go ahead and show me. I have prepared enough." Raimundo's voice wasn't loud, but it was enough to suddenly silence the surrounding space. Claudio was stunned. His gaze stopped at the thick envelope on the table. The smugness on Claudio's face suddenly vanished, replaced by an unmistakable look of embarrassment. The murmurs from the crowd around him stopped, replaced by astonished looks mixed with a hint of embarrassment. In that moment, the atmosphere of the store changed completely, and Raimundo, with his determination and calmness, proved that a person's worth does not lie in their appearance, but in their persistent effort and unwavering belief in themselves. In the face of Claudio's sarcastic remarks and the contemptuous looks from those around him, Raimundo maintained an astonishing calm. He did not show any signs of confusion or anger, nor did he rebut or justify himself. For Raimundo, the scrutinizing gazes or mocking words could not shake the will that had been forged through years of hardship. His eyes still radiated calmness, deeply rooted in a steadfast belief in his own worth and the dream he was pursuing. After Claudio scoffed and deliberately led him to the display area of old tractors, Raimundo was not at all bothered. He patiently observed each machine, listening to the subtly sarcastic introductions. But in his heart, he already knew what he needed. Raimundo did not come here to look for a cheap tractor. He came to choose for himself the most modern, powerful tractor that suits the needs of agricultural development and the future of his family. With a calm yet decisive voice, Raimundo pointed to the large, most modern tractor prominently displayed in the store. "I want to see that one. Tell me more about it." Claudio was momentarily taken aback. The arrogant smile on his lips suddenly vanished. His gaze quickly swept over Raimundo, as if to ensure that the simple man in front of him was truly serious. A few nearby customers began to whisper, no longer looking at Raimundo with pity, but with curiosity instead. Claudio tried to stay calm, forced a smile, and then began to present the specifications of the tractor. However, In his voice, there was still a hint of skepticism. This one is the most modern model here, with high power and efficiency, suitable for large farms. Its price is not cheap at all, over $300,000. Are you sure? Raimundo didn't answer right away. Instead, he slowly opened his jacket pocket and carefully took out the old envelope he had kept for many years. Each coin inside was sweat, effort, and countless sacrifices from him and his family. Without a moment's hesitation, he placed that thick envelope on the counter. Go ahead and check. I have prepared enough. The entire store's atmosphere seemed to deflate. Claudio was stunned, his eyes wide open, staring intently at the envelope of money. The contempt and sarcasm on his face vanished in an instant, replaced by confusion and astonishment. The observing customers could not hide their astonishment. They no longer whispered and laughed mockingly, but stood silently, watching the farmer with eyes that were completely different from before. Claudio was at a loss for how to react. He didn't expect that the man in the shabby clothes and worn-out shoes would be able to buy the most expensive tractor in the store. The sarcastic remarks just uttered now seemed ridiculous and foolish. Meanwhile, Raimundo stood there, calm and resolute. He didn't need to say another word, for that action spoke volumes. You don't need to justify your appearance or explain your dreams. He simply proves that, with perseverance and determination, he is completely worthy of what he pursues. That moment was not only a shock for Claudio, but also a stern reminder to all those who have ever looked down on and judged others based on appearances. And above all, it is a testament to the fact that patience, determination, and relentless effort will always be rewarded. The tense silence enveloped the entire store after Raimundo placed the envelope of money on the counter. The astonished gazes turned towards him and Claudio, who now stood frozen, his face pale and devoid of any confidence. In that moment, Claudio's arrogance and disdain completely vanished, replaced by an unmistakable embarrassment and shame. That tense atmosphere quickly caught the attention of Roberto, the store manager. Noticing the unusual atmosphere, Roberto quickly approached. As an experienced manager, he immediately noticed the unusual behavior of his employee. "What's going on here?" Roberto asked, his stern gaze sweeping over Claudio before stopping at Raimundo. With his usual calmness, Raimundo slowly replied, his voice showing no sign of irritation. "I came here to buy a tractor, but it seems that your staff don't believe I can do that." Roberto immediately turned to look at Claudio with a gaze full of disappointment. Claudio bowed his head, sweat beading on his forehead, not daring to say a word. Realizing the situation, Roberto quickly adjusted the atmosphere. He stepped forward with a professional yet sincere demeanor. "On behalf of the store, I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience you have encountered. We are committed to serving every customer with absolute respect. Please follow me so that we can continue the transaction more comfortably." Roberto gently invited Raimundo into the private transaction room, where there were no more scrutinizing glances or disdainful attitudes. He personally introduced the details of the most modern tractor and ensured that all buying and selling procedures were conducted quickly and professionally. Throughout that process, Roberto kept apologizing and promised to rectify the staff so that a similar incident would never happen again. Meanwhile, Claudio stood frozen at the counter, clearly feeling the reproachful gaze from Roberto and the concerned looks from his colleagues. His usual arrogance has now completely vanished. Claudio was not only embarrassed in front of his superior, but also humiliated in front of the customers and colleagues. Roberto didn't need to raise his voice, for his disappointed gaze was enough for Claudio to understand that his disrespectful behavior towards customers was unacceptable. This embarrassment is a valuable lesson for Claudio on how to treat others, especially the customers who have placed their trust in the store. Not only did Roberto stop at an apology, but he also decided to reorganize the staff training session, emphasizing customer interaction and the value of respect. He understood that a store's success is not only due to good products, but also to the service attitude and respect towards each customer, regardless of who they are or what they look like. Raimundo does not demand an apology or request punishment for Claudio. He understands that the most valuable lesson is not punishment, but awareness and change from within. Before leaving the store, Raimundo calmly looked at Claudio and gently said, "I didn't come here to teach anyone a lesson, but I hope that in the future you will treat everyone with respect, regardless of how they look. Because the calloused hands you once looked down upon are the very hands that are building the future of the family and contributing to the development of this country." Those simple yet weighty words seemed to awaken Claudio. He bowed his head, his voice trembling softly. I am sorry. I was wrong." With calmness and generosity, Raimundo not only completed the transaction, but also left a profound lesson about respect and human value. He made those who once judged him by his appearance reconsider themselves. And from that moment on, not only Claudio, but the entire store realized that respect is not a luxury, but a necessary foundation for any relationship, especially in business. After completing the procedure to buy the tractor, Raimundo did not hurry to leave. He understood that silence is not always the best way to solve a problem. Raimundo was neither angry nor resentful, for he knew that anger would only make the problem worse. Instead, he chose to behave calmly and generously because he wanted to turn this situation into a profound lesson for others. He politely requested the manager Roberto invited Claudio into the trading room. The atmosphere in the room became heavy. Claudio walked in with an awkward demeanor, his eyes not daring to look directly at Raimundo. The arrogance and contemptuous attitude from before have now vanished, replaced by embarrassment and worry. Raimundo looked straight at Claudio, his gaze calm yet resolute. He didn't raise his voice, didn't harbor resentment, but spoke gently yet firmly. "I don't blame you for looking down on me. Everyone makes mistakes. But I want you to understand that a person's worth does not lie in the clothes they wear or the appearance they carry. True value lies in character, in perseverance, and in relentless effort." He paused for a moment, then slowly raised his calloused hands, the cracks and roughness clearly visible. "These hands, these are the hands that have fed my family, that have nurtured the future of my children. And not just my family, but many farmers out there are also using these hands every day to create wealth and contribute to this country. You see these calluses, but you don't see the sacrifices behind them." Claudio stood frozen, his face flushed. He felt each word cut deep into his self-esteem like a knife, not because he was insulted, but because he felt ashamed of his own pettiness. He couldn't argue back, because everything Raimundo said was the truth. Claudio bowed his head, his voice small and choked. I truly apologize. I was wrong. I shouldn't judge anyone just by their appearance. From now on, I will never let that happen again." Raimundo nodded slightly, his gaze no longer reproachful, but full of forgiveness. He knew that the apology came from sincere remorse. "I don't expect you to just say sorry. I hope you change. Remember that anyone who walks into this store carries their own stories within them. Never judge them by their appearance, for sometimes the simplest people are the most extraordinary." The room was immersed in silence. The heavy atmosphere suddenly became lighter. Claudio slowly nodded, knowing that those words would follow him for life, reminding him of the lesson he had just experienced. The lesson that Raimundo brings is not only a reminder specifically for Claudio, but also a profound lesson on respect and understanding for all those who have ever judged others by their appearance. Raimundo chose a noble way to behave, responding not with anger, but with calmness and kindness. It is precisely that which made this lesson more profound and unforgettable than any reprimand. From that moment on, Claudio truly changed. He was no longer the arrogant and superficial employee. That day's event became a milestone that made Claudio realize the value of respect for everyone, regardless of who they are or where they come from. And Raimundo, with his perseverance, kindness, and tolerant behavior, made everyone reconsider the true value of humanity.